All right, everybody, welcome back. Nimiger here, and today I wanted to talk about the value of the Forge Pass, which is kind of like a monthly recurring thing. I've always bought it, I've never skipped it, and they recently, like a month or two ago, implemented a Platinum tier, which costs more than double the price of the base tier that they had. If you add it on, it's the gold pass is 19.99 in terms of American currency. So 19.99, we'll say 20 bucks. The platinum pass, I believe, is 49.99, so we're going to say 50 bucks. So as we're talking about this, we're going to look at the value of the middle tier being roughly $20 worth of items, and then the bottom tier we're going to say is $30 worth of items. So for me, the Forge Pass, again, like I said, it's something I've always bought. I think the value of it was always pretty good, but I've never actually looked at it and kind of been like, oh, maybe it's not, maybe it is. But you do get the Forge Pass sets which come out, which are the Instinct, Bolster, Defiant, Righteous, and Slayer. Most of these sets are decent. You're not going to really find better gear in terms of like just being able to craft something good. The general quality is going to be higher than a dungeon set in terms of like if I craft 10 of these with all the charms on, I'm going to get better gear than like a 5-star rare most of the time. I don't actually know the math behind it. I'm just going to assume because that's how I feel when crafting it. And if I feel it, then it's true. The Instinct set, when it comes around, a lot of people don't like this one very much. I think it's pretty okay. You get 4 pieces for 12% speed, 20% ignore defense. So it's kind of like if you threw on the Savage or the Lethal, which ignores 25% defense, and then Savage without the crit rate. You lose 5% ignore defense, but you gain 12% speed. Seems like a pretty okay trade-off to me. The Bolster set, which we just had, is the 30% protected shield and the heal by 10% for every single turn. I think this set is very good. A lot of people underrate it. It can be used in a lot of siege teams, and again, anything I talk about with the PvP meta is going to be weird because Mercurial's kind of everywhere right now, and people are just running on Mercurial, but I've seen the bolster set prior to Mercurial's existence. You'd run double bolster on rare teams to get these massive shields with nukers protected by a turn or two of stone skin. It was very hard to clear, took forever. The rares don't do much damage. You see it on Noelle sometimes. You can see it on some of these shield type champions that gain a little bonus in PvP. And speaking of like Sir Nick, and I think it's pretty good. Obviously, you just want to run Mercurial at the moment, so PvP is kind of out the window. However, the set's also insane for PvE. I ran it on almost every single stage of Faction Wars that I went through. I cleared all the Faction Wars hard. You pretty much need this set, and there is the Shield set, which is the lesser version of this. I always ran Bolster. Again, I'm talking about kind of the value of if assuming you have the 20 bucks to spend. I'm not going to recommend anybody spend the $20 or $50 if they don't have it. Obviously, don't do that. But with the bolster, insane set to me for PvE. There's many conditions in the faction war where you want keep your team's health above 75% HP. There's the Ogryn tribe, which struggles to have revivers. There's the Shadowkin as well, which struggled to have revivers. You also just kind of want to make your reviver tanky, or if you're running somebody in your team that, you might not normally use these champions in most other content, so you're running some epics that are really squishy. You want to keep them protected. It's a great way to do it. I love this set. Again, the PvP implications aren't as clear right now, probably less rated there. But I think the bolster set is probably the top or second set from the Forge Pass list. Defiant, I've never even used it on any of my champions, but I've bought every Defiant Forge Pass. That's kind of the weird thing about why I wanted to make this video. 10% defense is what it is. Minus 15% damage taken from enemy AoE. I could see this if you were running like early in Hydra and you can't get your team to survive, but or PvE content where like a boss comes out, they do a ton of AoE damage. You really need minus 15% damage. You can stack it 3 times, so minus 45% damage, but I just have never found a use for it on my account. end game accounts I don't think would have a use for it. You could throw it on some like tier 3, 4 PvE champions just to have them geared. I would never really buy this for the set. Righteous, I do think is quite good. I would rate it probably in the tier below. I'll talk about Slayer and Bolster as kind of like my top tier. Instinct and Righteous, I think, are kind of like the middle tier, and Defiant would be my lowest. Righteous, I think, is quite good. You get the 10% speed, and you had the resist added onto it. You would throw it on a lot of champions you want to be fast, but a lot of times if you're building so much speed, you lose the resistance. You could have it on like a Galathyr, a Noelle, champions you want to be fast, but also have high resist, Crixia. And that was a set that I thought had pretty good value. I would use it a decent amount, at least a 2-piece in any of my builds. Again, with Mercurial, specifically for PvP, I think it loses a decent amount of value because you don't need the resist if you've got 3 Mercurial stacks protecting you from everything in the game. So that does get a little weird. However, on champions like Crixia and Galathyr, where they get bonuses off of the resist, or other champions that might get a bonus off resist, it could be something good to build. Again, I don't think it's the best, but if you want speed and you want resist, I think it's a pretty good set to use. I use it a lot. And then also just the chance of having more gear. We'll talk about it when we go through the actual pass, but I've completed the Bolster pass. You get about 200 summons plus the chest, so call it 210 pieces of gear. That's 210 pieces that could roll speed, and there is so much of a need for speed in this game. You just want more gear. It's one of the most efficient ways to get gear is from the Forge. So pretty good value in just having more options to be able to roll up. Again, it's not Mercurial, so are you using it in PvP? I'm not 100% sure, but that's kind of a weird part of the meta at the moment. Slayer, I think, is a really good set. I use it on like my Thor. I use it on my Marius. Any champion that has like a AoE that you want ignore defense on as well. But it's a variable set, and from 1 to 9, you get different perks. The 9th perk being where you do AoE damage, and there's a chance to have it do just extra bonus damage, which is actually pretty significant. If you run it on a Marius and use the A2 on the boss, who's doing like 30% of the health because it's enemy max HP, it can end up taking the boss down to like 60 or 50%. It does a decent amount of extra damage. The one caveat is you do need the AoE, so sometimes the ignore defense you could lose if they don't have all AoE skills on the Slayer set. So there's arguments that like just Merciless six set Merciless is better, but I do think it's a pretty good set. I used a lot in PvP or PvE. I was using a Slayer PvP horse for quite a while before I finally took him out of my PvE gear. But again, I think it's a pretty good set. It does a lot of AoE damage, and I'm not unhappy to craft it really ever. So you get the 200 pieces. Pretty decent value. You want to be using all the mythical charms. You can see I use the mythical charms every single time I forge a decent set, and I still have more than even my rank and rarity charms. So you can get a lot of mythical gear from here. You can choose the substats. You can see I choose speed and crit rate a lot, crit damage as well. But the gear you end up getting here is a lot higher quality than dungeons, unless you're running just a million dungeon runs to be able to get the same type of gear. So Forge is just in general pretty good value. So if you got a good set, I think the 1999 is pretty clear that 200 pieces. If you turn that into like energy runs of a dungeon, you're running 10 dungeon runs on the auto run to get 200 pieces. I don't know if that math is correct. That sounds incorrect. One dungeon run is 20 energy. So, okay, I had to double check my math in my sheet because I was losing my mind, and it turns out I'm just tired. But you do one dungeon run is 20 energy if you're looking at the hard 10 realm of dungeons. So if you go into any of these, it's going to be 20 energy. Most people run it as 2, so you get the 40, but that's really 2 runs. It's just happening at the same time. So you get 1 dungeon being 20 energy. In order to get 210 pieces of gear, which is roughly what you get from the middle section of the pass, that's 4,200 energy worth of gear. Now, if you look up the general price of 4,200 energy in the just energy pack calculator, I'm using the Hell Hades energy pack calculator, that's $19 worth of energy. So without anything else, you're getting as much gear as you're getting energy, and it's higher quality gear than you would generally get from a dungeon because you can add those charms to give it the boost of rank and boost of mythical. Again, I don't have any math behind that, but I just believe it with my heart. So then we could talk about the extra rewards here that you give it the tier. You'll find multiple tiers. I think it goes up to 5, where you get extra XP and silver. So you can see 50% XP and silver from all battles. This is really good if you've got a champ training on and you can just roll through it extremely fast. If you're running Nightmare campaign with the plus 50%, I don't know what the math ends up being in terms of the savings, but it's really good. It feels extremely quick to level any champion from like even 1 to 40 making food. And then the silver, you're just passively going to get throughout almost a month of having the plus 50%, a little bit less. So I think it's probably like 1 week around here, 1 week around here, and then the rest of the month at level 5. But it's decent value that you're not really seeing as you're getting it. They've then obviously got the legendary gear section in the forge, so you need the legendary and the epic pieces. And the rest of the pass, you get some ore. To be the most value, you get these 5-star glyphs right here, which you get 5-star speed glyphs. Pretty good value there. You get some legendary ore. You get a lot of the charms, and like I showed you, you keep a lot of the general charms for like defense, attack, whatever. But in terms of the speed charms, the crit rate charms, crit damage charms, you do need those. So getting 20 of them plus the 3 free ones is pretty good. And then also the Magisteel. The Forge is an insane place for CVC. If you're not used to like endgame CVC with like a clan with a 400k minimum requirement, you can go into the Forge, pop all of these out, use 8,000 Magisteel every single PR CVC, so once a month, and that gets you like 250k plus points sometimes. So after you level up some of the gear as well, so you know it's really easy. Just go in the Forge, pop it all out. You do need to run Arena a lot to get the Magisteel. If you look at the Arena rewards, let's see if it'll show it on here, but we can run it real quick just to show one battle. And the animations are very annoying on a guaranteed win, but you get 4 Magisteel per run. You do need to be running a lot of Arena, so if you're not keeping up with the Arena, having the extra Magisteel from the Forge Pass is pretty good. I've run out of Magisteel a few times when I'm forging really hard for CVC, so having the extra that you get from the pass itself, and then also you get these weekly challenges which help you complete the pass faster. And this little blue section right here is 200 Magisteel, so you also get 800 Magisteel by completing all the weekly challenges too. So the $20 pass, it pays for itself in terms of energy with the gear. It's a question of, do you care about the energy on the gear set? So again, like Bolster, I would like. If it's Defiant, I don't know. I find the value in the speed charms and the extra Magisteel, the XP and silver again. I just like having it passively. But there's an argument there for, you know, if I don't like the set, it's not really worth it. But again, if you're just selling the gear as well, you're getting all the silver. So it's, to me, a pretty good value in the game. Now, the $30 Platinum Pass, so the 50 total to be able to get this, but it's a $30 upgrade from the gold, is insane. You get pretty much nothing. The rare currency here is pretty much worthless to me. The 1-star basalt, again, worthless. The blue gems, worthless to me. Starstone, I think, is very, very much needed. So you end up getting 200, 400, 600, 850, plus, so 1100, 1350, 1500, 1800. 21. This is a lot more than I thought, like over 2,400 almost. The Starstone is really good. It costs almost, I think, 600 to 800 just to move a single mythical relic, and you run out of it very quickly, especially if you're focusing on Chimera Trials and you're doing Ultimate Nightmare twice. You're getting significantly less Starstone because you're not getting the double rewards from Nightmare. So the Starstone, I think, is pretty high value. You go into the purple and the 2-star basalt and another blue gem, all worthless. More blue and purple, to me, all worthless. All worthless. all worthless, and you got to go up really. 3-star basalt is where you start thinking, okay, maybe it's a little worthwhile. To me, it's pretty easy to craft a 3-star piece of food. You get so many of the rare and epic crafts and other content. I'm going to call this worthless, including the epic gems. Now you start getting some of the legendary pulls here, and throughout the entire pass, you can see you're going up to level 30 before you get a 25 of the legendary, and you get 4 of them. So 50 and then 225. So you get 1 legendary pull, which to me is not very good odds. There's a chance of it being an epic. This is a whole other discussion about the relic crafting rates, but I think they're hot garbage. I don't like the system. The relics changed the game way too much for the amount of RNG involved in them, but I digress. So you get 1 legendary pull, which I'm going to call a little bit worthwhile. You got the Star Stone, which is worthwhile, and I do think a 4-star basalt, you get into the worthwhile territory. The legendary gem here, honestly, I think legendary gems should be way down here, replacing some of the rares, and I think you should get 1 mythical a month. It's so hard to get a mythical gem that isn't a circle gem, and there's so many bad ones that you just keep getting over and over again if you're unlucky. They need to be offering mythical gems in here. I think the pass in general is just not worth it for what you get. You get the legendary. You can get an okay one. You could get a bad one. I think this really needs to be mythical. I think they need to add more legendary crafts, but you get a legendary craft. And then to top it all off, you get 1/2 of a mythical craft. So you need to spend 2 months spending $50 each month to get a mythical craft. Now, the mythical relic in the Forge Pass are pretty insane, and I don't know where they are in here because it's not organized very well. It's under events for some reason, which I don't understand why, but the Immortal Visage, once per round, you're just revived with 100% turn meter and HP, insane, and the Dread Bomb, crit damage and speed, which is really good, 10% chance to gain an extra turn, and you also ignore 10% of the enemy defense when during those extra turns, and this goes up by 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so 20% chance. Very good ignoring defense, one of the better relics in the game. So these two are insanely good, and they're locked behind 2 months of progress, and I'm going to end the video by pulling this shit, and we'll see if it's good or not. I've already pulled one of the legendaries from last month, but we're going to pull this. We're going to see that it's not good, and then we're going to move on and call the second part of the pass not worth it at all. But to me, the legendary rates right here, we'll put them into the craft section. So the Forge Pass legendary, we have 0.5% chance of getting a mythical. The legendaries can be okay depending on what set you're getting, so 40% chance of that is okay. But I also have a 50% chance to craft just anything in the standard pool. I hate this system so much. I do not want this ever. Just make it a separate pool. If I'm paying for the Forge Pass and I'm farming the Forge Pass, or I'm farming a specific type, I want one of these. If I pull a mythical, I want it to be a Dread Bomb or a Visage. I don't want it to be a Hilt or a Heart, because guess what? Every other time I pull a relic, I have a chance to get a Hilt or Heart. So many times I've gotten a mythical, and it's a Hilt or Heart, but it's from these other pieces down here. It is so sad when mythical relics, like the Dice, like the Lens, like the Dread Bomb, like Stars and Shibias, like the Crown, like Mind, like the Polytope, like the Death Dealer. There's almost every mythical relic can change how a game works, how a specific champion works. It can make them insane. And you just have a 50% chance to waste those materials on okay things. And you're going to have 1 million Searoths and Wands, so you don't even care about these. You really only care about the top 2, and you're going to end up having a lot of these if you're pulling any mythical crafts eventually. I think the system sucks. I'm done complaining. I'm going to pull this. The Forge Pass, I'm going to end it on saying I think the $20 pass is quite good value, depending on the set. For me, I buy it even regardless of the set because of the other perks you get, but I can understand if you don't like the set, it's not worth pulling. I'm going to get an epic from the $50 that I spent on that. Again, mind you, I got half of a mythical pull, the relics and the starstone. That's really the only thing worth value in that. I'm gonna pull my mythical here. If I get a dread bomb, I'm gonna say everything's worth it, and I'm gonna totally change my mind. If I pull the 80% chance of a legendary, I'm just gonna be sad, and that's just gonna ruin my day that I spent $100 on this pull. So here we go. We're gonna get a wand. It wasn't even one of the Forge Pass legendaries. So in conclusion, don't buy this until they make it better. I don't like it. I think this is horrible. Middle Pass, still pretty good. I've been Nimiger. Thank you for watching. Let me know your opinions on the relic crafting system and the Forge Pass down in the comments. I know that a lot of people hate the relic system. I hope they change it, because I don't like it. Thank you for watching.